if everything goes to plan, it will host the MotoGP, Indonesia's first MotoGP, which is the premier motorbike sport in Indonesia. Lombok doesn't yet have the range of bars or restaurants that Bali has, and that is what makes it quite a different island from Bali. It makes a very peaceful add-on or a calm alternative to its neighbour. Now we're going to move west to Yogyakarta. Jogja, as it's known to locals, is the heart of Javanese culture and royalty. If you have clients that enjoy art, who enjoy history and festivals, Jogja is the town. Jogja is home to the world's largest Buddhist temple. A lot of people don't know that. Called the Borobudur Temple, it was built in the 9th century, and during that time a cultural renaissance was happening across Java Island. And there are also other temples of a similar vintage. The town has a very ornate royal palace that is still active and a bathing complex. In that area, they have traditional art performances, puppetry, and percussion. And afterwards, it's really nice to head out and grab some street food. Javanese cuisine tends to be quite sweet. It's best known for a sweet jackfruit dish called gudeg. Some of you may know the restaurants Sarong and Mama San in Bali, a guy called Will Mayrick. He's recently launched really high-end food tours in Yogyakarta. There are several boutique also and heritage hotels in Yogyakarta where you can relax and enjoy local cuisine or Western or international cuisine. If you like silver and want to get something handmade, just one moment. If you like silver and want to have something handmade, or you want to buy some unique gifts, there is a silversmith village that you can visit just out of town. It's a university town with a burgeoning contemporary art scene. So if you have clients that enjoy music, folk festivals, design festivals, they're held throughout the year. Jogja really is a must-see for any of your culturist clients. So we've got Jogja for culture, we've got Lombok for relaxation, and now we move further east again over to Komodo Marine Park. The Komodo Marine Park sits on the west of the island of Flores. Flores has a really fun energy about it. And here you're thinking about the traveller that wants sailing, sunsets and wildlife. The port town of Labuan Bajo is the gateway to the Komodo Marine Park. It's the departure point for seeing the Komodo dragons, and Indonesia is the only place in the world where you can see these incredible creatures. The marine park is absolutely spectacular, and Francesco will share more information about the marine park in just one moment. Back on land, in Labuan Bajo, you can visit traditional villages that haven't changed for hundreds of years. You can go cave swimming, and then as the sun begins to set, you can find a spot at a rooftop bar and watch the sun slip away behind the Komodo Marine Park. That is all from me. I hope you are feeling inspired for when we can travel again. And I am going to catch up with you a little bit later after Francesco speaks to answer any questions. So Francesco, if you are ready, I would like to introduce our audience to a luxurious way to explore Indonesia. I'd like to hand over to Francesco Galli Zugaro, who is the CEO of Aqua Expeditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for getting everybody excited about getting over there when we can travel again, which hopeful that that'll be soon. I'm going to then ask you to, allow me to share my screen. Let's see. Let me just do this a second. And I will do that. Okay, so I see we've got a good number of participants, and I see some familiar names as well, as far as agents, clients of ours. So welcome everybody, and thanks for joining us today. Thanks, Benjamin, for helping us arrange this. We're obviously making time at the end. If I can just ask maybe Miriam or whoever has got their mute button deactivated, that would help, as I have some background noise. Today, the idea is to get you excited about our newest baby, the Aqua Blu, and how she applies the water of Indonesia. She's actually today currently in our port here in Singapore. She's undergoing her scheduled maintenance. Luckily, and for some reason, I had scheduled her maintenance to be done during the month of March and April. So she's here until the end of May, beginning of June, and then we've gotten clearance for her to get to Indonesia and arrive after June 8th, when ships are allowed to get back into Indonesia. And then after that, it kind of, and I'm sure you'll have questions to that effect, when we can foresee activating our trips, we'll be ready, and I can address any questions after this kind of more destination-focused presentation. The company, as you know, let me just make sure I've got you on full page. There, you've got it. Okay, you should be seeing our home slide. The presentation today is going to focus quickly, not so much on destination, because I think that from the audience that we have today, you've either sold or are very familiar with Bali. A quick intro into the company. I started the company 13 years ago. We are currently own and operate 3 small ships. They are expedition vessels applying both the Amazon, the Mekong, and now the Aqua Blu in coastal waterways. And then we've got the Aqua Nera launching later this year in the Amazon in Peru, which is going to be our 4th expedition cruiser on our fleet. So as you can see, the map now highlights the 2 destinations in South America, and then the Aqua Blu and the Aqua Mekong in Vietnam and Cambodia. So the company has grown in the last few years to go from small ship expedition, river-focused itineraries to also our first coastal cruiser with 15 cabins plying just Indonesia. And I think there's a very important factor here that we need to highlight, which is the fact that we're locally flagged. And so any concerns in the future regarding our ability to drop anchor or call in any port, we're always going to be able to, because we're flagged in the country that we operate in. And that's a huge advantage with regards to our small expedition vessels. However, going back to Indonesia, as Miriam mentioned, this country blew my mind, and I personally vet the destinations that we select to operate in because they have this wow factor for me. And Indonesia definitely is a destination that beyond Bali has so much to offer. And as Miriam mentioned, the government's role these days is to promote beyond Bali, these 10 new Balis. And what I did is identified 3 destinations within Eastern Indonesia that I think are not only in many cases were the first timers that offer FIT departures, which is a big advantage to the Aqua Blu compared to incredible other products in the market, which are charter only or live aboard. We're a leisure FIT focused product with scheduled departures. And I think if there's anything I want you to remember at the end of this presentation today is how we're built as far as an FIT product, and the advantages and the benefits of using the Aqua Blu as you explore these 3 parts of Indonesia, which is the uppermost image is Komodo and the Komodo National Park. Then there's the Spice Islands in the middle. That fort is Fort Belgica Fort Belgica and Fort Nassau in the Spice Islands. And then the bottom are the iconic limestone formations of Raja Ampat. Indonesia, I won't dwell too much on it, but it spans 4 time zones. Eastern and Western Indonesians need about a 4 to 5 hour flight to cross from the easternmost to the westernmost. And so I think the key here is to identify that our hubs are either Bali or Jakarta for flight access, and then accessing either Komodo, Spice Islands, and Raja Ampat. And what I did with regards to choosing these destinations is I picked the destinations based on the best time of the year. As we span 4 time zones, it also spans different weather patterns throughout the year. So wherever the Aqua Blu is the best time to be in that part of Indonesia. So Komodo Islands is April to September, Spice Islands, October, November, and Raja Ampat, December, January, February. So we're always ensured that we're in the best part of Indonesia for the best time of the year. And air access is always through either Jakarta or Bali, service through Garuda or Batik Air. Obviously, private air travel is very popular with a lot of our guests that are doing private buyouts and flying privately into any of those airports. As far as seasonality, this slide sort of is the best way to represent the highlights of the year. So January through December can be broken up into these parts of the Indonesia where the vessel will be based. December, January, February is Raja Ampat. Then it goes into 1 or 6 weeks of maintenance, which is the time period now, and obviously extended due to the global lockdown. and then going into Bali for the best time of the Bali Komodo season. Now, the unique differentiating factor here is that we're the only FIT product that actually leaves Bali Harbor, Benoa Harbor, which is 10 minutes from the airport, and then heads to Komodo. So it does a 7-night expedition either one way or 7-night expedition Komodo back to Bali. So you only have to fly in one, you have to use a flight for either the entry point or the exit point. And those are 7-night expeditions. Then we have these 12-night cross-destination itineraries, which are actually incredible value, but for both their monetary value, but also for the fact that it covers 2 destinations. So you've got either Bali and the Spice Islands, or Komodo and the Spice Islands, or the Spice Islands and Raja Ampat, and so forth on the return leg when she changes destinations due to the weather times. And then the last frontier, the #1 dive site of the world, the nature park with the highest biodiversity in the world, which is Raja Ampat. And today only accessible for liveaboard divers, hardcore divers, and traditionally more of a private buyout on these beautiful traditional Pinisi schooners, which are these wooden hulled schooners, but they're averaging anywhere between 1 to 7 cabins. Ours is a 15 cabin FIT product that allows to provide a product in this destination that is easily sold into as a standalone or a complementary to the likes of Yogyakarta, Ubud, and any other parts of Indonesia people want to go into. So that's the year at a glance. A lot of these images, and I've got quite a few slides, they're mostly inspirational images. Let me tell you, these images were all taken on the inaugural voyage that I led the ship with in October. It left Singapore, headed to Bali, and then in November, it left Bali for a 28-day journey, crossing all of Eastern Indonesia from Bali through Sumbawa into Komodo National Park, crossing all of Flores into the Forgotten Islands, up towards Misul, southern Raja Ampat, and up into Raja Ampat, West Papua, to all the way to Wayag, the northernmost part. So all these images were taken by our photographers on board. We had guests, past guests, we had press on board, and I spent about 4,000 miles navigating all of Eastern Indonesia and really confirming the itinerary, which we're super happy with. So very small tweaks that we've been doing. But if you can see, all these images are part of the guest experience. You've got the Komodo dragon, you've got the iconic sort of wild coasts of the destinations. You've got some bird life, and a lot of it through getting up towards Raja Ampat to see the iconic birds of paradise, the iconic obviously whale shark. That is viewable and pretty, I wouldn't say guaranteed, but very high probability in the Komodo Bali or Bali Komodo. We've identified one spot. I won't give you the coordinates. I won't tell you exactly where, but it is a high probability of swimming and snorkeling with whale sharks in a section of the itinerary between Bali and Komodo without going all the way up to West Papua. So an incredible expedition. The waters are just off the charts beautiful, the coves, the bays, and all this exploring with our small 60-meter global explorer that has an incredible heritage to it. And I'll tell you as we get into it. So again, the map to access this itinerary of the getting to Komodo, the Flores and Komodo itinerary is mostly through either Bali or Labuan Bajo. And as Miriam mentioned, Labuan Bajo is a brand new airport, fully international airport now, and it's going to have some great flights, hopefully in the future, even increasing potentially international flights as it's up for a new concession in the coming months. So again, air access, it's an hour and 15-minute flight from Bali to Labuan Bajo, and right there you can pick up the Aqua Blu and then do a 7-night. We spend about 3-4 nights in the Komodo National Park and then explore the islands all the way back to Bali. And I'll tell you why those highlights, but it's an incredible way to see the best of that region. Remember, Komodo is a national park, Komodo is an island, and Komodo is a dragon. So it's not only about seeing the Komodo dragon. Whilst we see it once or twice, guaranteed to be able to see it, it isn't necessarily the highlight of the Komodo National Park excursion, because there is marine life, there's swimming with manta rays, there's hikes, there's tender rides, there's incredible beaches. So it is about seeing this part of the world, and the Komodo dragon being one of them. And I've purposely built excursions to take you to places to see them outside of the ranger stations in their natural habitat, right off the beach. No? So again, this is a detailed itinerary. You can see this in our voyage calendar. So once you get into our sales material, which is available online or through Benjamin and our sales team, you can see the detailed breakdown of the itinerary. But there's a lot of highlights throughout the itinerary, and our ability to have the speed, the comfort, and the stabilizers on a ship like the Aqua Blu is a huge advantage compared to other vessels that will take a lot longer or just won't be able to make that journey, because crossing the Lombok Strait between Bali and Lombok has got strong currents. Indonesia is known for very strong currents, and having stabilizers on an explorer yacht like ours are a huge comfort level for our guests, both for mobility and speed. So these are itineraries that you can find, the detail of which is available in our voyage calendar, which always highlights the duration, the map, the entry point of the itinerary, the airport code, and all the applicable dates. Again, all more details you can find in our sales material or online. Then you go into Spice Islands. Now, some of you in Australia obviously have heard of the Spice Islands. Some of you have heard that they exist, just don't know how to get there, and they're traditionally hard to get to. You fly through an airport called Ambon, which is about a 3-hour flight from Jakarta. And then once you get there, it's like it's like walking through a living museum. The town of Banda Neira, which is one of the Spice Islands, of which we will visit 7 in 7 days, is an incredible sort of live museum, because when I walked into Banda Neira the day that I explored about the first time about 3 years ago, you actually witness steel cannons thrown on the side of the road. You see these Dutch forts that were built in order to protect the nutmeg and the spices of the time, because at the time, nutmeg, cinnamon, and mace were the most coveted and valuable spices in the world, more so than gold. And so the Dutch East India Company at the time, the Amazon, let's say, of today, was the most profitable company in the world. They wanted to control to their best ability these trade routes, and for which they actually exchanged Manhattan in 1667 in the Treaty of Breda. They swapped Manhattan for an island called Pulau Run. And that is an incredible part of history. A lot of people need to know. We walk into the town. We have a private takeover of the Fort Nassau right there in the picture at the bottom right, and we have sunset drinks, and then we leisurely stroll through nutmeg plantations. There's incredible diving there as well. There's hammerheads being seen. There was actually a blue whale in the entrance to the harbor last November as well. So incredible, really. This is probably the more cultural itinerary out of the three, because there has a stronger cultural component. But again, marine life, and again, I'm not a diver. Whilst the Aqua Blu provides all the facilities for divers, we're not a liveaboard dive boat. We're a leisure explorer vessel with a diving component. And so you can assure that as a non-diver, I'm also looking out for the best interests of the non-snorkelers or just the snorkelers. And I think there's an incredible variety there because of our small group sizes of 6 to 8 guests per naturalist or per guide. These are the pictures. Once the Aqua Blu entered the harbor, and please look at our YouTube channel. You'll see about 6 to 7 videos, all filmed through our inaugural voyage, and you'll see how we enter the Banda Harbor, an incredibly deep, narrow harbor, and 2 Kura canoes were there to welcome us with about 24 rowers on each side, doing an incredible ceremony of welcoming the Aqua Blu as we entered the harbor. So again, an incredible, really unique opportunity. We're the first scheduled FIT product to go into the Spice Islands. So again, getting there is through Ambon, 3 hours and a half flight from Jakarta, and then you do a 7-night expedition. That's basically about 9 departures a year. And then obviously that's the detailed itinerary right here. We do Pulau Run, Banda Neira, Manuk. Again, a good mixture of hikes, snorkeling, and cultural activities. Then the final frontier, the #1 dive site of the world, and the highest marine biodiversity in the world because of the currents there, is Raja Ampat. And you've probably heard of it. Yes, it is as beautiful as it looks like in those pictures. The marine life, the bird life, the hikes, the rivers, truly spectacular. And as a legendary anthropologist says, and you may have heard of him as well, called Lawrence Blair, who did a documentary in the 70s called Ring of Fire, Indonesia is considered today a country where you can still be an explorer. And that's definitely the way I felt when I first went there. That's definitely the way our guests feel when they go to Raja Ampat, because we're always tweaking the itinerary, exploring based on interest where people want to kayak. On the last trip and the first part of the season, I had heard about this Blue River that I wanted to explore, and it was this incredible freshwater Blue River that flowed through this part of Wayag, through this part of one of the islands, Batanta, and we went there and found this Blue River, crystal blue fresh waters and explored it, navigating through the river, swimming. And take a look at our YouTube channel, and you'll see some videos of that effect. But incredible part of the world where snorkelers, hikers, and bird watchers will find their wow moments. There's beach parties that we set up. There's incredible cave formations. There's a jellyfish lake that you may have heard of, where these jellyfish have been stuck in this lagoon for hundreds of years, and they've lost their ability to sting. And for that purpose, we're able to go in there and actually swim amongst them. In the next few days, you'll see one of the videos being shared of us swimming through these jellyfish. An incredible, really wow moment. Again, getting there, it's a 4-hour flight, so it's it's a trek to get there. But once there, everything back on board the Aqua Blu is perfect comfort and really an ability to just disconnect completely. So that's a 4-hour flight. And then that's the itinerary. So traditionally, we cover about 400 nautical miles in a week. That's more than double any Phoenici schooner out there. And the reason is we have the speed, we have the comfort, and we have the range. Filling up the Aqua Blu allows me to have about 3 months of fuel autonomy. We cover about 7,000 nautical miles. The Aqua Blu was originally a British Royal Navy explorer ship called the HMS Beagle, not the original Beagle from Darwin, but the HMS Beagle. And she was a research vessel for the British Navy, then turned into a private yacht. And I'll show you some pictures of her right now in the coming slides. There she is in all its magnitude and glory. She's now, as I said, here in Singapore. We did an extreme refit to her, but she had a sturdy nature that really appealed to me when we went looking for buying a ship of her caliber. And what I did was, one second, let me just go on to the next slide here. She is the first expedition vessel permanently based in the Indonesian archipelago. She's the first one with guaranteed departures. We offer 48 departures a week of 7 nights. And amongst that, there's about 4 of them that are 12 nights. She's the first steel-hulled classed explorer vessel, classed by RINA, which is a classification society that provides all the standards as far as health and safety that are so important today. And obviously, she's got stabilizers that I've mentioned. She's got all the bells and whistles you would expect from a global explorer, from the redundancy of her systems to her engines and so forth. She's got 3 tenders, a dive tender and 2 beautiful 7.5 meter awning tenders for all the excursions. Those could be sundowners, it could be beach excursions, it could be snorkeling. But again, everything's catered to by about 30 staff. I mentioned about because it depends on the group of the guests and the breakdown of divers versus non-divers. But again, this is not a liveaboard dive boat. We cap the diving at 8 guests unless it's a private buyout. So the decks, she's split up over numerous decks. You can see her here, but I'll show you in the next pictures. That's a top view of the drone photography. We've got the tenders, we've got plenty of outdoor space. And she just has an incredible ability to ply these waters in complete comfort. The cabins are 15 suites, all beautifully appointed, very large. We're talking about an average of 25 to 30 square meter cabins, the majority of them. They're all queen. We've got 3 twins, entry-level smaller cabins for families that have some kids or just have a smaller budget in mind, because the rest of the guest experience is exactly the same. But the cabins are beautifully appointed. Modern, contemporary look and feel, big bathrooms, interconnecting double suites for families. Large, all outside facing, all with either large portholes or large windows. But again, really lush interiors, fully carpeted, a sense of kind of contemporary, because she has such an incredible heritage. I wanted to evoke also a level of comfort and modernity of a modern private yacht. So once on board, people are taken care of by 30 crew, but only 30 guests. So again, a huge advantage of having a small group for a private buyout or multi-generational buyout. And everything's included, all F&B. It's not like a private charter where you have to pay an additional 30% APA, which is for F&B, for how much fuel. We have an incredible itinerary catering to every person's needs, both from a dietary perspective or on an interest perspective. We've had buyouts of kids, of grandparents, and children. So again, really, really flexible in that respect. Dining can be on an individual basis or as a family or larger groups. But again, obviously with the measures in place going forward, we have complete flexibility in catering to individual guests or family groups. There's indoor dining, outdoor dining. It's rare to find an explorer yacht of this caliber, at this level, that you can buy by the cabin. I think that's a huge differentiating factor on anything in the market today, even in the Med or in the Caribbean. It's hard. Usually these beautiful 60-meter yachts are only available as a private buyout, but to have 15 couples or 3, 4, 5 families available to buy out this and take a 7-night expedition into a rarely visited part of the world that's not within Bali but beyond Bali, I think that's how you have to remember it. Obviously, for any type of anniversary or event, we can obviously customize the guest experience on board. Look at that. There's obviously honeymooners or anniversaries or whomever. We're catering to a very broad demographic of age. We've got, 30 somethings all the way up to 70, 80 years old, because the ship and the itinerary caters to that type of activities. We can customize it completely. Dining. Obviously, you can't go anywhere in this world with any of our ships without obviously knowing that you're going to be taken care of as far as the dining experience from world-class chefs. On the Aqua Blu, we've partnered with Ben Cross. Ben Cross is Australian. Actually, our top 2 consulting chefs are Australian, David Thompson for the Aqua Mekong and Ben Cross for the Aqua Blu. Ben's claim to fame, obviously, is very successful restaurants in Bali. Prior to that, obviously, in his home of Australia, and he's created a dining concept which kind of captures the European influence of the spices all the way through to the Middle East and into Indonesia. And that blend provides a really modern Mediterranean and authentic Indonesian fare on board, but all in tidbits. So it's kind of lots of plates to try at the table level. So there's no buffets on board, and it's all customized to the guests' interests and special needs. You can see here a picture of Ben and some of his, we just had his masterclass last week. If you look at our social media, you'll see one of his recipes, barramundi through with some sambal. So you can try some of his fare remotely until you can get either your guests or yourself on board the Aqua Blu. The excursions are very varied. Like you can see there, the whale shark snorkeling, just basic snorkeling, kayaking, tender rides, or just swimming in. And those little dots in around that person there, it's actually my wife, in the lagoon is our jellyfish, pink stingless jellyfish in one of the craters that we went into. The cultural component, incredible sunset, get-togethers, informal walk through villages, and some arts and culture, some folkloric aspects of it, because it is an incredible ethnic population of Indonesia. Obviously, the crew on board, most of Indonesia, we've got some top officers on board that are foreign because of the safety aspects that we need to ensure until that level can be 100% locally found. But for now, our top officers, of which are 3, chief engineer, captain, and ETO, electrician, are European. Our cabin breakdown, I'm not going to go into detail of it because really there is a lot there, but there's complete flexibility as far as cabin interest and the needs there for your guests. The rates, again, quite reasonable considering that all inclusive, they range between $7,000 and $10,000 for the 7-night voyage per person, all inclusive, excursion, unlimited diving, transfers to and from the vessel, all meals, wine, everything. So the voyages, in a recap, and I'm coming to the end of my presentation, this is the voyage calendar of the 12 nights. There is obviously an incredible part of Indonesia that people are starting to want to explore, the remote Spice Islands, the forgotten islands, and forgotten because they feel that they've been forgotten by the government, by the central government Indonesia. I explored all those islands in November, incredible communities, incredible scenery. And then these are other of the 12-night itineraries. This is a 2021 itinerary, pretty similar to the 2020 breakdown. The diving component, certified dive instructors and rescue divers on board. So really high caliber safety is focused on all the equipment we have, from dive compressors, the equipment we have, everything's 100% brand new Scuba Pro equipped. We've got a partnership with them, and our dive instructors are really top end. You'll see them. You can contact us for further details. We have a lot more information on the diving component, but it is an incredible dive part of the world for certified divers. So either a PADI or equivalent certified divers are able to join us. There's a few hosted departures while I end. There's the hosted departures with some authorities on the subject matter, both on the F&B space or on the cultural aspects. So take a look at those dates. And then there's also all the resources that are available to you from all our website and the agent portal resources available to you in the coming months. What's available there, you contact us. We can provide huge amounts of resources for further exploration into itineraries and details. And also additional material online. As I mentioned, some of those incredible videos of the destination that are all on our YouTube channel. Health and safety is of primary importance. This I'm going to address later because we're going to have a webinar in the coming weeks as we kind of start getting ready for revamping our operations and restarting our operations into all our destinations, both South America, Vietnam, and Cambodia, and Indonesia. So there's going to be a lot of questions regarding how do you restart that. But there's going to be a webinar just focused on that, hosted by myself and our F&B director globally. And so stay tuned for that news because that's going to be a more in-depth analysis of how to provide comfort and reinsurance to our guests and travelers. But a lot is being done. We're not using this gift of time without its benefits. There are a lot of work being done in order to provide you those unique kind of selling reassurance points to provide travelers and yourself to be comfortable in the destination, the product, and the environment that's going to be when we get back with a conscious comeback. So these highlights here are obviously all for you to feel more comfort. But the team here is available to answer questions. Both Benjamin, Miriam, and myself make ourselves available for any questions you may have. Hopefully I got you excited about getting back into doing what we do best, which is selling, inspiring, and Indonesia is definitely at your back door, and you've been used to selling it, you've been used to promoting it, and I think it's incredible to be able to now go beyond Bali to something that complements what you've been selling in the past. So thank you all for your time. Thanks, Benjamin, Miriam, and over to see if there's any questions.
Francesco, yes, I do have a question from Farhan Riandi, and that's a question to both of you. Maybe Francesco, you would like to start first. The question is that she would like to hear from Francesco and Miriam about the difference between Aqua Blu and other similar kinds of trip. Have you ever heard about premium tourism destinations terminology? How would you define that terminology? And do you think this approach will work after the COVID-19 pandemic? So maybe Francesco, you would like to give your answer first.
Okay, so sorry, just to make sure I understood the question. One is, how does this Aqua Blu compare to other products in the market? And then regarding the tone of voice going around after to promote these destinations after once people start traveling again, correct?
Yes, correct. And if you heard the terminology of premium tourism or premium destinations, which is our terminology that is being used.
So, and I'm not familiar with the term premium tourism destinations. I think I'll tell you my understanding of it. First of all, obviously the Aqua Blu is one amongst many great products in the market. So Indonesia by nature is an island archipelago, and so it requires to be explored by water. That's the only way to really explore that part of the world. We saw an opportunity in the market to fill a niche that wasn't being catered to, which is FIT travelers that are avid explorers that want to see beyond Bali because either they've been going to Bali or selling Bali for years and need to explore that beauty beyond Bali, and can only be done on a ship of this caliber or private charter Finici. I've been on many Finicis. There's some beautiful ones. They're really spectacular, built to traditional style, wooden hull. We are a steel hull. Now that has a lot of advantages. We're classed, so that is a huge safety and health and best practices are implied in being classified by RINA, which is one of the top class societies, which standardizes and gives us an accreditation of safety. And also the speed with which we navigate these waters. Indonesia is known for strong currents and the ability to cover larger areas. You need the comfort, you need the stabilizer. So Aqua provides that. As far as you know, we have to be susceptible to the fact that there's going to be larger concerns coming back to when people start traveling, and we need to adjust our tone of voice, our conversational style in order to address those concerns. And we're going to not only be ready for it, but we're well ahead of the game as far as, because a lot of the best practices we've had in place continues to stay relevant, and we're just going to heighten those and communicate those more effectively when we come back and as we start ramping up again. Hopefully that's addressed. If not, obviously at the bottom here is my email and all our emails. So I encourage, if time doesn't permit, please contact us directly. You know?
Yeah, Okay, thank you. And Miriam, how would you define that terminology, and whether this could be also an approach of promoting the destination as a premium holiday destination after COVID-19 pandemics? Would there be anything you would like to share?
Thank you, Benjamin. In terms of the terminology, a premium destination, it's not a term I'm familiar with coming from Indonesia. Indonesia is talking about quality tourism experiences, and this experience on the Aqua Blu is certainly a quality tourism experience. And I guess quality for different travelers is different things. So quality can be a very subjective experience, or a subjective matter. In terms of a post-COVID world, I think quality never goes out of fashion or out of style. Certainly there are going to be some economic impacts post-COVID. However, an experience on an Aqua Blu or an alternative quality tourism experience is something that people save for. And an experience like this would be a once in a lifetime experience for many people. So people will always aspire to have quality. People will always aspire to have incredible travel experiences. So post-COVID, there's still definitely going to be opportunities for premium travel. Indonesia is close to Australia, and that will never change. So it is a short flight, 3 to 6 hours, 6 or 7 hours out of any Australian destination up into Indonesia. And then from there, a hub and spoke from Bali or Jakarta out to these incredible destinations. So that will never change. So even if post-COVID fuel prices increase, air travel increases, given that Indonesia is close, it should still be approachable from a cost perspective to get there, and less carbon travel miles because it is a close travel destination. So post-COVID, these things won't change.
Okay.
And certainly Indonesia is working on getting ahead of the curve. So we are looking forward very much to travel restrictions being lifted as soon as practical and safe.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you very much. Lance is asking, that's a question to you, Francesco, whether you would suggest a one-night pre-cruise before Raja Ampat. If yes, then which hotel eventually he could recommend, and the best way to arrive to Raja Ampat, basically.
So the best way to arrive to Raja Ampat is with Garuda or Batik Air. I've done it tons of times. From Jakarta, the flight actually leaves around, there's 2 flights, they leave around midnight. It's a 4-hour flight plus a 2-hour time zone difference. You actually arrive at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now we receive our guests that morning, and then we put them at the Swiss Bell Hotel, which is the best hotel in Ambon. We actually include about half a day room available there, because remember, we need to turn the ship around that morning. We've got guests disembarking Saturday morning. We've got guests embarking, they're getting on the same flight usually, right? So we've got to disembark the guests that are getting on the 7 o'clock flight that departs. Then we provide a resting half-day room at the Swiss Bell Hotel, which is 5 minutes from the airport. And then from there, they embark right before lunch at the hotel, on board the Aqua Blu. Yes, if guests want to avoid that midnight flight, they can fly the day prior. They can sleep at the Swiss Bell Hotel. And then we embark them at the same time around 11:30 noon on Saturday morning, because the Aqua Blu leaves every Saturday of the year. So that's with regards to that question, I think. No?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And the last question from Vicky Williamson is regarding children. What's the policy that we have, and what amenities can we provide to families and children, Francesco, on board?
Yeah, so children are usually on our FIT departures is anywhere around 7 and up. Traditionally, we've seen the majority of the kids are averaging anywhere between 10 and 16. However, we take kids from 7 and up, and then obviously on a private charter basis, which this product is very well suited for, and it's got a lot of interest, is there's no age limitation. I also see on a separate Zoom webinar chat that there's other questions regarding snorkeling opportunities. I see that it says, are there a lot of snorkeling opportunities aside from diving? Yes, tons of snorkeling opportunities. We've got stand-up paddle boards. Everybody gets their snorkeling kit for the week. It's theirs to keep for the week. It gets cleaned, it gets sanitized after every excursion, and it's theirs. And so there's definitely an incredible opportunity to snorkel. Like I said, I'm a snorkeler and I think all of us are avid. And again, even if you're not and you want to do it from the beach, you don't have to do it off the tenders. We can take you to the beach. You can do it right off the beach, very comfortable in protected coves, so there's no strong currents. So really, it's incredible part of the world to see stuff that most divers see just as much as the snorkelers, or vice versa. Sometimes we get a lot luckier than divers because they don't have the ability to move around as fast, and we've seen just as much as the divers, a lot more.
Okay, great. Thank you, Francesco. I'll be sending the presentation, also the recorded webinar, to all the attendees. So you have both of these presentations from Miriam and from Francesco. And I think that's it. There are no more questions left. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Francesco and Miriam, for taking your time.
Thank you all. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Benjamin.
Let's travel soon.
Our pleasure, and look forward to seeing you on board. Bye,
Indeed.
everyone.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you. See you.